Moving on to our second panel, which is on the topic the role of AI and ML in predictive threat intelligence. As we embark on this discussion, it is essential to recognize that we stand at the forefront of a digital revolution where the volume and sophistication of cyber threats has never been greater. In this context, AI and ML have emerged as powerful allies in the battle against cyber adversaries. So let's dive into it and learn how they can be utilized in predictive intelligence. Let's welcome our panelists, Kartik Shinde, partner consulting at EY, Vandana Verma, security leader at SNCC, and Setu, co-founder and CTO at RiskProfiler IO. Our moderator for this panel is Gunjan Chhillar, who is working as a security specialist at CrowdStrike.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. It's been absolute privilege and an honor to be a part of this discussion. So today we'll be talking about role of AI in predictive threat intelligence. I would like to start with the problem statement here. With the digitalization, we have seen, the organization enterprise infrastructure. There are so many nodes that gets added. When I say node, it can be a workstation, it can be a server, it can be a cloud node, application, and whatnot. Right now, the problem with this is the more the nodes, the more security solutions we have in place. Right, and again, irrespective of whether we have best of the breed security solutions in place, we still have so many silos. There are gaps, and we all know adversary breeds gaps, right? So what is the solution here? And once we, whether it is any security solution we talk about, whenever the assessment happens, we always see that we are bombarded with gaps and so many findings that are there. So what is the right way to assess your environment? It is basically getting the contextualized information. It is getting the right threat intel when it comes to the understanding your threat landscape that is there. So that is where threat intelligence comes into picture. We all understand threat intel. It is basically, and there's a very famous proverb also, to know the enemy is you win the the battle. After the battle is won, basically. So we will be talking about the role of AI in predictive threat intelligence. Threat intelligence is basically understanding the context of the gaps, the risk that is there. It is very, very important because it gives you the proper insights and about the information about the potential threats and vulnerabilities that are there. So we have veterans from the infosec industries. We'll be having a lot of interesting questions with them and a great discussion as well. So I'd like to start with my first question here. In terms of talking about the role of AI in predictive threat intel, we'd first like to understand, how does AI contribute to the predictive threat intelligence that is there?
So thank you for the opportunity for all of us to be here and talk about the topics and the role of AI in predicting threat intelligence. I think let me shift not even too much, about 5 years back, and we used to hear the buzzwords AI, ML in cyber, and we used to joke about it, saying that, every product that's coming now is AI and ML enabled, right? And we used to laugh about it. The fact that we used to laugh about it is because the whole generative AI wave hadn't come yet, and no one knew what could be the art of possible to the extent that how deeper impact it will have and make life easier for cyber. With the push of generative AI, particularly ChatGPT, it's now very clear how efficient things can be, even from a section of artificial intelligence, which is generative text models, right? AI is any which ways a vast topic and many sub areas within AI. Hence now, what we are definitely seeing is that while the security product companies had been working AI ML models within their products and the ecosystem, I think now it's taking shape and people have started believing that yes, things could be possible. You can detect attacks faster. You can respond to incidents faster, and generally have the ability to make sense of what's happening in your ecosystem. So that's where we are heading. And I think a number of product companies are, investing time, startups coming up with a lot of innovative models in terms of how this can be solved. But I think, I'll leave it to the discussion later as to, how do we, what are we seeing in the industry? What are the trends that we are basically looking at? How some of these companies are implementing AI/ML strategies into the product ecosystem, enabling much faster, detection rates and so on and so forth. So I'll probably halt there and, have my co-panelists also talk something about.
So when we talk about AI, that's been one of the things which is like, as you said, it's a jargon, right? It's still a jargon because we are still getting used to it. It started off with more around GPT, where people started talking about it. Even before that, there are companies like IBM. IBM came up with Watson, and it started in the healthcare industry. When we talk about healthcare, there are a lot of diseases which we can't predict right now. But with using AI, there are much more work that can be done in this area. Especially, there was one article that I was reading about Manipal hospitals that when they started, they were very susceptible about it, whether it will work or not. But it helped them detect a patient's future condition, that what will it be. So it actually detected the person would be admitted in the hospital again in the 30 days, the way the situation is. Even if the person has been cured, still there are some symptoms that he might come. So they actually checked out, and after 30-35 days, the person actually readmitted in the hospital. So they realized that this is something which is important, which is useful. Now, you must be thinking how that's related to cybersecurity. Now, cybersecurity comes in when they are using these mechanisms and they are detecting that there's something that might go wrong. But there is no proper security around it, and somebody is able to play around with that data. There are cases where the insurance companies who have actually played around with the customer data. The person has submitted the legitimate bill, but they have said that it's a fake bill. So there are cases, very, very valuable cases, which are still in court discussing about it. But AI can help fixing those cases, resolving those cases, and detecting early on. Now, that's from a healthcare perspective. When we talk about our IT industry, that what its future entail, and when we are talking about it, how it's progressing, it's something, I would say, it will take time to understand whether we need AI or not. People are talking about it, people are using ChatGPT and saying that we are using AI, but that's not how it works. It's just part of it, it's LLM. Right? So those LLMs are there, but then AI is much more wider, which we still need to understand how we can utilize, or it can be a big problem for all of us. Another thing is that, especially in cybersecurity, we are going through these SOC models, Security Operations Center, and a lot of people here I met, and they're saying that we are SOC analysts. We're just starting off. We're doing this. So cybersecurity can actually enable them, and at the same time, mature the process in detecting those threats, because we are still not able to detect the right kind of threats which are there. If I go back in 2017, when Equifax breach happened. Now, I'm quoting these public information, so I'm not making it up. Yeah, that's something which is there publicly. So what happened with them? They were using a third-party dependency, and because of that, there are some issues happened. Even though the company mentioned that there is a problem in this dependency and you should update the things. But what happened next? They could not fix it on time, which happens with many companies, that there is a timeline. But inside the organization, they couldn't even detect that there is an outsider threat which is there. Because of that detection problem, it went on for 6 months, more than 6 months, and they still don't have the right amount of data, that how many organizations were impacted, what all legal documents were impacted. But fast forward 5 years now, we still have the same problem. When Log4j happened last year, or in 2021 end, people still had the same issue. There were a lot of organizations which were part of the whole arena, but we couldn't detect it. So the most important thing comes is that we should have some kind of mechanism which can detect early on. And there are many things which are there, like we have neural networks which can help us detecting and resolving these issues early. We can train our AI. We can understand the unsupervised learning models. We can get a lot of data from those as well. So probably we can start there, and then we can detect that what we are talking about, anomaly detection and other models that we have.
So when it comes to the AI in threat hunting landscape, there is a huge issue with enterprise organizations when it comes to threat hunting. What it means is couple of incidents that were quoted by Vandana. One is like Log4j, and the other one is like Equifax breach. The reason what I feel is there is thousands of CVEs, hundreds and thousands of incidents that are coming out of a SIM solution on a daily basis. When they're coming in thousands, and when you have a security SOC team of 40 or something like that, it's literally mission impossible kind of a thing for the SOC analysts to do or triage those number of incidents. So how I see AI helping this is something called as threat hunts, AI powered threat hunts. What I mean by that is these AI powered threat hunts will go through the logs, will go through the events, will go through the incidents, and then they will go ahead and create an attack path, which is like by mixing 40 or 50 CVEs with 4 or 5 alerts from IDS IPS solutions. It does all the basic triaging work that a normal SOC analyst has to do, and it generate one alert or one event or one attack path, which eases the life of a SOC analyst and improves the productivity of a security operations center. So that's how I envision AI in the cybersecurity landscape. And when it comes to threat intelligence landscape, what I see is there is a huge, enormous data that is coming from multiple sectors in the industry. It can be healthcare, it can be retail, it can be financial services. Every sector have its minor threat intelligence groups. So I was working most of my career as a security architect before starting my startup in the financial services industry. So I was part of some threat intel groups where they share information through emails that this is the organization, these are the indicators of compromises, please be aware for the financial services. And then while I was consulting at AWS, I was working for multiple retail and several other type of customers. They have taxi feeds, they have other type of data. So the problem here is we need to aggregate this information, and going through this enormous amount of data is not an easy job. So what I feel is AI can help in going through this massive amount of data and then going ahead and identifying and correlating with context between multiple industries, and then creating an global threat intel feed kind of a thing. That's where even AI can help. So these are a couple of points from my end.
Thank you so much for sharing all of this, and then special thanks for that legal and healthcare, usage of AI. That is really, really informative to me. Now, as Kartik said, AI is an umbrella term because in AI there are various models, there are various ways. There is NLP, there is role-based. I would like to double click on the same thing with my second question, which is what specific techniques or technologies do you feel that should be used in the predictive threat, intelligence space?
Okay, so when it comes to threat intelligence, primarily, I think it's again a very broad term used and abused in the industry. Like Setu said, you have your Stix taxi feeds. You approach any organization today and ask a question of what do you do about threat intelligence? First answer is yes, we do have threat intelligence capabilities. And these threat intelligence are basically the feeds that they subscribe to, whether it's open source or commercial. The feeds do come. The data does come. How do you apply that intelligence internally to secure our organization is the problem, right? So I'm highlighting the problem statements first. So that's one part of it. Second is all of these threat intel feeds are all external information that you get. What about your internal intel? How much do you know? Like you said, know yourself before you know your enemy. How much do you know yourself? How much do you know about your internal endpoints, your internal infrastructure? your people, their behavior, online behavior, etc., all of that. So all that telemetry is also important, right? So are you taking enough internal data, external data, churning it to make the intelligence, the threat intelligence make more sense out of it, right? So that is the other part. Now, if you look at how do I apply AI ML on this? So because the problem statements are very disconnected in that sense, various elements are disconnected. Just putting AI in the game is not going to resolve it, right? So you need a thorough ecosystem first, a good framework of sorts, where you know what data you're going to analyze, you're going to automate, you're going to make sense out of it to make detection more faster. That's when you will really align all the pieces together, right? So ideally, a product ecosystem which is looking at your endpoint telemetry, which is looking at, your perimeter controls, which is looking at user access, anomalies, not just looking at indicators of compromise, but also looking at indicators of attack, and building in all of these elements into an intelligent system of sorts to predict what's really going to happen. So all of these points need to be looked at in cohesion, in totality, to really make a system that's more intelligent, faster, and less human intervention required. Yeah, you.
I think I really love the point when you said understand what you have. Because if you don't know what you have, you would never know. Like in-house, we have 4 windows and 4 doors, but there is a window at the attic we generally don't remember that there is there. So that can be a problem for us. And that's where AI plays a big role. Now,
When you go to any organization and ask them, do you know 100% of your IT assets?
no, that's still a big challenge, right? If your assets are, if you know what your assets are, you have the job is already done. Yeah, so people are still not fully aware about that. And interesting bit is that UEBA. So I was working on one of the products and UEBA came into the picture, which actually interested me a lot because so UEBA is user and event behavior analytics, that how internal users are behaving. A lot of times we have the threat intel from all these sources. We are consuming it, but we are not consuming the right way. And then we have our internal users who are playing around with the data, but we're still not sure what they're doing. So now identity access management combined with all these behavior analytics can define a lot of things, especially with all those attacks which are starting from the internal systems, internal users. Even though somebody is impersonated, you can actually guess using this AI technologies or ML models that we have. So now, when we talk about identity and access management, everyone says that zero trust is actually identity and access management. Now, when zero trust came into picture, it started highlighting all of those technologies combined together and then put AI to it or ML to it so that we can get the right amount of data that we need rather than scattered things. And like you said, that we need a combined salt rather than having small information from everything. We would never be able to work. So if I know right now Kartik or Setu is in Ahmedabad, but just after 1 hour, he is logging in from UK. So how crazy that would be. Technically, maybe that's possible, but practically that's not possible. Those are the things or those are the frauds which AI can help in detection. And especially combining all those intelligence that what can happen, what cannot happen, where you are coming from, where you're not supposed to be. So these things really do help. And then it also helps in understanding what kind of information is being passed. Now, there was let's say I am a person who posts a lot, but then there is an attacker who wants to talk to me. I might want to share some information. So in that case, maybe it'll not be in the right way. It'll not be in the plain English, which it is there. But AI can help in detecting that it can be a threat to organization because they're talking in certain way. Especially now the government agencies are scrubbing the dark web, all of those things. Maybe I shouldn't use this word, but then They are scrubbing the internet, that who is talking in that language, and they are detecting the threats early on. So I would say scrubbing the internet, not the wrong word. Yeah.
So when it comes to technologies that can be leveraged, here is purely dependent on the type of log sources, or the also called as type of data. So for example, if you're trying to go ahead and analyze network logs, you need to go ahead and use convolutional algorithms to create a decision tree, and then from the decision tree you can create some predictive threat intelligence and then identify the abnormalities. And when it comes to other type of security data, which is like an endpoint logs, when you talk about endpoints logs, it's gets into processes, sub processes, and which process is anything other it's also a decision tree. And when it comes to cloud asset management, very useful thing is knowledge graphs, which are powered with some semantic search analytics. So now you have cloud asset A and cloud asset B. How are these both interlinked, and why are they suddenly interlinked, and why is this asset suddenly communicating with new asset on the internet? So these type of things are like depends on the type of data. And then which is a bit of as Vandana has mentioned, the UBA, user behavior analytics side of things. In UBA, the concept is the easy part is going ahead and identifying which user has logged in from which location, but the difficult part is finding these attack paths, or finding these regular expressions or something like that. So what are the different possibilities that an attacker can leverage to compromise this incident? So that's the complex part where AI can help a lot. And for that, we can use a depth first kind of algorithms. And when it comes to threat intelligence, going through a massive data of threat intel feeds, you can go ahead, because it requires you to go ahead and understand the natural language of how the attackers are communicating. For that, it's straightforward. Go ahead and use Hugging Face, open source. They have open source that. Use that LLM, train with your own proprietary data, spin up the SageMaker kind of an framework, and then you should be able to get those analytics in and out. And there is also something related to brand intelligence. So when you're going ahead and when you're going ahead and scraping surface web, deep web, and the dark web, what is very complex thing is understanding and differentiating between what is the text in a HTML content. So that's a huge pain. AI can help you in terms of leveraging deep vision algorithms to exactly identify which part is text in a huge HTML page and which part is the CSS or other styling code. That's where deep vision algorithms can be used. And even I recently wrote a script which is for identifying login pages. For example, if your organization is having a login page, and there are like thousands of indicators of compromises on the internet, like spam, house, and all these sources, how do you go ahead and understand that my organization's login page is present in one of those IOCs? So again, you need a deep vision algorithm for that, and you use pixel by pixel comparison, text comparison once you extract the text from that image. So I mean, one thing which I can say is there are very powerful, beautifully well-trained ML models out there. It's just we need to know which algorithm to use for what type of data to achieve the right outcome.
Thank you so much, Setu, for highlighting this, ML thing. When we talk about machine learning or AI, the efficacy of an AI model is a direct proportional of what all data it is crunching. The situational analysis that we are, supplying as input to that AI model. And as Kartik also rightly said, when we talk about threat intel space, it is more about, there are only two things that we talk about. There's an IOC approach and an IOA approach. And with my, everyday interaction with customers, I still see we are still, a lot of CXOs are still putting a lot of investments in terms of their times and, resources in terms of building up those IOCs. But that is not the need of the hour, given the kind of sophisticatedly advanced threats, attacks that we are seeing. How many times we have seen, WannaCry or NotPetya happening again? Not even in the second time, right? Because nobody wants to repeat the same thing. That is where the mindset needs to be shifted, wherein now we need not to be looking only at the IOCs, but if you look at that pyramid of pain, we now need to shift to that IOA approach, which is more proactive in nature. And given you all are, again, working in the same field, you must be having certain examples wherein you can help us, or some case studies wherein you can help us with the how AI has helped in mitigating and predicting these threats and, improving the threat intel landscape that is there.
Especially from the ransomware, I'll pick it up there because ransomware detection has helped many organizations, specifically understanding what kind of data which is going out. Because if a system is not supposed to connect to a third-party server, but it's still sending data, or it's not behaving the way it should be, early on AI can help in detecting those kind of patterns. I would say pattern detection is something which is really good with AI. And apart from that, now this is there. But then when we are getting feeds from everywhere, when we are understanding there is an IOC, IOA, all of that, but how to consume it for the right set of assets that we have. And at the same time, if let's say we are part of healthcare industry or a fintech industry, if I need specific data for that, and to use that, I will only get that. I will only be wanting to understand that. So AI really helps in that. Apart from that, now we have NLP, we have ransomware detection, but understand a point wherein it's a public website and people are posting a lot of text, a lot of images. Now, AI can help in detecting those images as well, especially around deep fakes, which is like becoming a very, very big challenge. We are all posting a lot of information online, but we don't know how much is being morphed, how much is being used at what place. But AI can help in detection that, yes, there is a problem, and we should make sure that this is being removed from the internet. Even though when anything is posted on the internet, that stays forever in the archives, but at least it can help us in knowing that, yes, it's not the actual data that we have. Apart from that, even in our day-to-day tasks, when we are talking about those endpoints, especially around mobile detection, I think that's where also it can help. We have a pattern of working on our phones or on our apps. Now, if any behavior which is going wrong in any direction, AI can help in figuring that out, especially if you think from a banking transaction details. Right now, I'm making a transaction. I'm sending some money to Kartik from my home. But suddenly, I start sending money from a different location in some other XYZ country. So isn't that possible? No. I think that's where AI can help banks in solving those cases, because anyhow, when there is an insurance, cyber insurance, specifically if I talk from an organization perspective, the insurance company has to pay the organization if any fraud happens. But if there is something wrong happen, they can stop right then and there, even before the fraud happens. Now, that's one part of it. Now, Setu mentioned about some of those contextual analysis that we can do, and there are some models that we can apply on the logs. Now, logs, generally, we think it as a post-mortem that we do it, correct? Like we use IDS and IPS, so we try and detect it, but most of the time we do the post-mortem. Now, when we do the post-mortem also, if we are using our human eyes, they will sleep off. Whatever we say, we get tired, our eyes get tired of. But when it comes to AI, if we are training the right way, they don't get tired. But the major challenge is how to train. So if we consider India, let's pull that perspective. India has so many people around. India has the most amount of data that we can play around with it. So probably consider that amount of data as a guinea pig and start training models. Similarly, for an organization, they have a lot of users. I think we should start training our models according to that. And that's when we can actually get to the right information.
So I think from an examples perspective, I think a lot of, I'll go back to my first point, a lot of companies, startups in the cybersecurity ecosystem claimed AI ML, as a feature. But I think now we'll see some of the big tech companies incorporate this. So we all know about Microsoft Copilot, and they have rolled out Copilot across not just the operating system, but across their product suite as well. So from your Excel, PowerPoint to Sentinel. So everything will be generative AI enabled. So you can ask a question in natural language and you'll get answers. And I always say, and probably, this is a very controversial statement, but rest in peace, threat hunters. I think that's the first, job profile in cyber that's going to slowly fade away. I'm not saying people will be jobless. I think profiles of people will change. You will not spend hours doing threat hunting, but you will spend minutes doing a lot more, which is the actual need of the hour in cybersecurity, right? So that is one thing. The other is, Microsoft, Google. If you see Google's, AI stack, now you have the entire, the whole Mandiant suite of products that's in the Google suite. They've become AI enabled as well. So if you see the Google keynote, you will see them talking about how do you make bet hunts more faster, right? How do you analyze traffic much better, and so on and so forth. Then you will have your endpoint security companies. So you have the likes of CrowdStrike, where you are from. So you have the entire suite of products right from your endpoint to cloud where you ingest your data. You will see a lot of AI enablement happening there. So I think it's already happened, and we'll start seeing more efficiencies build up in the practices where the industry was any which ways lagging behind. Interesting times ahead.
Yeah. So when it comes to what are the use cases in enterprises, I can start with one exciting feature that I recently built. So it's basically leveraging LLMs at enterprises to get the attack surface intelligence information. Like we can use Hugging Face LLM, go ahead and train it with your enterprise data, or else use ChatGPT private plugin, create a private plugin. And now, as a CISO or an executive member, they can always go ahead and ask ChatGPT, saying like, what are my exposed port 80s? And ChatGPT will query with a custom plugin that a product has integration with, and then give back the response saying like, these are the 52 assets that are having port 80 exposed. The next question a CISO can ask is, how many of these things are vulnerable to Log4j? The answer is it goes back to the solution, like an attack surface intelligence solution or external attack surface management solution. It comes back with the answer saying like, these are your vulnerable endpoints. So this is one nice use case that I can think of, which we have built. So querying the attack surface intelligence data or querying your organization's private data using your enterprise private LLMs. So that's one nice use case. And the other use case is this is for the retail industry. Retail industry is suffering a lot because of fake OEM products. So the organizations have a lot of big brands. You have your those first remake products coming out within weeks and being sold on Facebook marketplaces and all the other places. How does this organization go ahead and tackle all these fake products that are being sold in using their brand name, which is causing millions of losses monthly? Is leveraging again AI. So as I mentioned earlier, when you are going ahead and using DNS logs, what you get from DNS logs is any new domain that is being created, you get that domain name. And most of the time, these abusers will use the same brand name for the creating of the domain name. You have your solution monitoring for those patterns. Once you get that, you keep a tab on it. Like the AI will go ahead and see if there is a new certificate issued. How do you track it? Is using certificate transparency logs. So you go ahead and track it. And then once you track it, keep on monitoring it, because once that certificate is issued, immediately the fake products won't pop up. The fake products will take some time to pop up. We can't take down or we can't issue DMCA notices. We can't do domain disruption until something fake is kept on the website. So we can't at the same time make a security analyst sit and keep watching that website forever. So again, you use your deep vision algorithms to go ahead and check on a constant basis. If whether you are getting some HTML content on that site, once you're getting that, go ahead and simply use Selenium or a Chromium browser, spin it up and take a screenshot of it, and then the LLM can go ahead, the artificial algorithm can go ahead and do the brand name comparison. For example, let's talk about Nike or Reebok, Adidas. They have like unique trademarks. That unique trademark information, you can get it from the US patent place. Scrape that, have that in database, use that database to go ahead and identify the brand threads of all these popular brands. So that's a couple of second use case. The third use case is combining the threat intelligence from multiple countries across multiple APT groups and across multiple industries. It's not an easy job. The reason is everything is written in their own language, sometimes in different languages, and sometimes they have their own way of writing English, and sometimes it's tax repeats. So going ahead and correlating this information and creating a proper threat intelligence with the help of Hugging-based LLMs or these type of LLMs. These are few use cases. And what else? I think fake apps detections, you can do a lot of them, because these days the number of type of squads that are coming up abusing all these retail industries companies are tremendous. And one interesting thing is the cloud security posture management tools have a lot of alerts. So you can use something called as decision tree algorithms or convolutional algorithms running on top of this CSPM logs or alerts to check whether that individual cloud asset is actually exposed to the internet or not, because all the CSPM tools will create findings based on the resource configuration with ignoring the entire context of it. How do you get the context is with the help of knowledge graphs. So you get the knowledge graph, compare the asset finding, and actually reduce your findings count from tens of thousands to just hundreds. So these are some examples of how you can use AI to make your life easy as a security engineer.
Wonderful. I could see we all are so excited to talk about the newcomer in the AI family, generative AI, ChatGPT. And I still remember when the ChatGPT was released, everybody, on all online platforms, it was like AI is here, especially ChatGPT and generative AI here to eat the jobs. But in my limited understanding, it's not the case. It's more about wherein you can automate the mundane basic task. And as Kartik rightly said, now you can put your time and energy on the other business aspects that are there. You can maybe from a threat hunting perspective, if I say, you can focus more on the surgical threat hunting that is there rather than the basic reactive approach that is there. While I don't want this discussion to end at all, but in the essence of time, we would like to check with our lovely audience if you have any questions for our panelists.
Hello everyone. How we can deal with new malware families using AI and ML?
New lines of
New malware families.
these days they are doing agentless in-memory kind of behavioral analytics. So they are already EDR, MDR solutions that are solving this. But to tell you in the technical layman terms, one solution that you can leverage is using threat intelligence information around an APT group or else across a malware family group. So once you get that information from your IOCs or IE attackers, indicators of attackers, IOAs, so what you can do is you can correlate that information and try to check what is their native coding patterns, and then from there you should be able to understand what are the different variants of a simple malware. Because right now what EDR bypass experts or malware reverse engineers they are doing is they're going ahead and easily bypassing and evading the AV solutions or this solution. So the way how you can do it is like just observing the behaviors of an file or an process in a subsystem, and then from there you can build on top of it.
Which type of AI algorithm is well suited for the detection?
Convolution neural algorithm should be fine.
Okay.
Yeah. So those things have patterns. Those things have what they do is like they do go ahead and create decision trees, and these decision trees will have a source and a sink, and the pattern that takes the route that takes from source and sink of a normal feature or a normal process versus during the time of this malware execution, it changes. So that differentiation will be used to identify the abnormal behavior.
Well, thank you.
So we know world have
good people and bad people. So let's suppose good people are used to use AI as a chat GPT make. They are making chat GPT like some AI model, and then bad people are used like a deep fake images, and then so many lots of things. So how can I like detect like like bad people's like in this work using AI and AI model? So, I mean, the question is, how can I go ahead and defend against hackers or attackers leveraging AI for abusing purposes? So, the coin has two sides. Philosophy. So, the coin has two sides. The same way, both hackers and also defenders will use the AI. No one can stop it. But we can use counter AI to defend against the deep fakes or that kind of a thing. So that's my 2 cents. Wanna
I mean, I would definitely like to know, because we are all experimenting with AI and we've in fact created some deep fakes. But the question is, how do you detect a deep fake, right? And we were in a debate last night as to within our team, as to we will demonstrate to clients as to how we can clone their voice and perform social engineering. But then what if, our client comes back and says, okay, that's fine, I'm convinced. AI is the biggest threat. How do you counter this? Right. So I think that's a big problem to solve. Because you will, and whoever solves it, I think it's $1 billion idea. Because all your social media, all your WhatsApp, Instagram, YouTube, wherever content is uploaded, all that content is at risk because I can easily download it and clone it to create a deep fake, right? So we were contemplating multiple mechanisms. Can you sign it? Can you encrypt, perform encryption on these audio video file formats? And then someone said, hey, even if after you do that, what if I play the encrypted file and on the other device, record it, right? So it's a very interesting problem to solve. At least I don't have the answer as to how this will be solved, but it's a very big problem that's going to come in.
This is something which is used by us from an ethical angle. Similarly, the attackers are using the same way. Now, one thing is training the data set right. I think that's one thing which can help. But again, how would you train? That's another question. If we don't have the right amount of data and we are not able to train it, we would never get the right results. Or even if we are able to clone the voice, we would not be able to detect if it's right or wrong if we have not trained it right. So let's start first. Let's start training our data, maturing our data. AI is there for good, but then at the same time, if we don't use it responsibly or if we don't train it right, it will never give us the right results. It'll just be in theory, it's just be in talks, it's just be in frameworks. So let's start training it. So maybe from organizations to organizations, apps would differ. There are many companies which are coming up specifically for AI, from ChatGPT to Recognize.ai to whatnot. But what you want is the most important thing. What you should use is another thing. We cannot use anything and everything. That might be a problem. So this is something which is debatable. This, I think, nobody would have answer to it. It's still in a growing stage. All of us are still learning with it. So it has a long way to go, if I have to say that.
So, ma'am, past you are use neural network words. I know about like you are must using that model. The problem is only one sample files. Like you have only one thread images, and then you don't have so much samples. Like how can you are trained? You have only one files. Then where that algorithm. So that is
See, that's why open source communities are there. There are so many open source communities which are there, which are providing the sample input, sample data. And there are organizations who are commercial organizations, they are also providing sample data. So probably organizations should look for those companies, the data set which can be used internally. I agree, within an organization, gathering the data is a big problem. But this is something which is a must have, should have, and probably once we start understanding that, it can help bigger in a long way or long run. But again, you have to seek for those things, or maybe if there's nothing, then you can start something where people start contributing. We were talking about taxi, car, all of those frameworks. Now, how they have come into limelight, the similar way. There are so many open source forums which are there which can actually help getting those data sets. Probably we should start there.
So yeah, I just want to say thank you. And AI/ML training and building models, it's a very powerful tool. And I understand, like, since I'm a pen tester, people, we have to look at it how an attacker looks at it. And if you go back and check on the SolarWinds, right, then definitely you're going to understand we have a lot of bad actors, but similarly, we have a lot of good people, the open source community, which you mentioned, right? That helped the SolarWinds company a lot in actually understanding and analyzing the malware. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there, but yeah, it's all about how we build and train the models. Thank you for the wonderful insights.